Hey, thank you for checking out another short devotion. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about Deal or No Deal. Remember that game show? Old Howie Mandel used to run it, and you started out with like 26 of those suitcases, and you would pick one. And then as the show went on, you would select other suitcases. They would open it up, and you'd see how much money those suitcases were worth. And the suitcases could be worth anywhere from like 1 cent all the way up to $1 million. And during the game, the dude would call down to Howie and make an offer to buy your suitcase. Now, this game was a game of faith because you had to have faith in something unknown. You had to make a decision whether your suitcase was more valuable or less valuable than the offer that was being given to you. You had some other factors to give you hints and ideas. You could see how many suitcases were up there, what they were worth, how much the ones that had not been opened might be worth, which also told you what your suitcase might be worth. So you would make guesses on whether or not to accept the deal based on how valuable you thought your suitcase was or how valuable the deal was. And then at the end of the game, you would find out if you chose wisely, because at the end of the game, your suitcase would be open and you would know for sure if the deal you made was indeed more valuable or less valuable than the suitcase you gave up. Or if you decided to keep the suitcase, if the suitcase was more valuable than the deal you turned down. Scripture tells us to walk by faith. Walking by faith means that every single day you're making decisions based on what you believe is more urgent, more important, and more valuable. Jesus tells us that if we would trust Him and give Him our suitcase, I'm really talking about our lives, if we would give Him our lives or suitcase to continue with the whole deal or no deal illustration, that we would save it, that we would win it all. But if we tried to hang on to our suitcase, if we refused to give it to Him and keep it for ourselves, that we would lose it all. Now, do you trust Him? Do you believe Him? Our faith tells us that Jesus is trustworthy, but our life makes these everyday decisions more difficult. We think about Genesis. In Genesis chapter 25, verse 33, we see the climax of a particular story involving Esau and Jacob. Esau been hunting all day, Jacob's been cooking all day. Esau said he was hungry, and Jacob said, I'll cut you a deal. I'll give you a bowl of this stew for your birthright. Now, the birthright was not just simply getting an inheritance. It was passing down the family lineage, passing down the family position. The bloodline would be recognized through you. The birthright was very significant from many different areas, but particularly it was a religious blessing as well. It had a deep and meaningful spiritual significance and even an eternal significance. But Esau was hungry now. And a lot of times when we're hungry, we make decisions based on what we feel and not what we know. I'm sure if you asked Esau what was more important, a bowl of beef or your birthright, I'm sure his answer would, oh, well, of course, our birthright is more important. But he wasn't thinking with his brain at this time. He was thinking with his stomach. And he said, give me the bowl of beef. You can have my birthright. I don't even care. Bam, it happened. Esau traded his eternal significance for a moment of temporary satisfaction. And we see later on in Scripture that Esau actually grew up to be rich, to be powerful, to be successful by the world's standards. Matter of fact, Jacob was even scared to see him because he was like, He'll kill me. He'll overpower me. He has grown to be way more successful than I am. I can't stand against him. But today, what do you know about Esau? What do you know about Esau's people? And what do you know about Jacob? Or maybe I should use his new name that he received. What do you know about Israel? Now, there's another situation we see in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 26, where Moses made a decision. Now, Moses, instead of trading his eternal significance for temporary satisfaction, he went the other way. He chose to trade his temporary satisfaction for eternal significance. So Moses, who had all the riches of Egypt, felt that it was more valuable to serve God than to enjoy the power and position that his life currently gave him as a grandchild of Pharaoh. And he gave all of that up to serve God. And what did he get as a reward? He led the Hebrews out of Egypt, spent 40 years serving God in the desert to a bunch of people that whine and complain like no other group you've ever been a part of. And then Moses died and never even got to go to the promised land. Was that a bad deal? Did Moses choose the wrong suitcase? Because we know that if he decided to stay in Egypt or decided to compromise his service to God, he had all this material things to gain. His life could have just been totally different. But I wonder if we could call Moses now. I wonder if we could hear from Moses now. Would he tell us that he was glad that he walked by faith rather than by sight, that he was glad that he chose to follow God rather than to enjoy the riches of this world for just a season? That depends on where your faith lies. That depends on what you trust. Now, I personally believe Moses would do it again. I personally believe that Esau, knowing what he knows now at this moment, would have never made that deal. But when you're in the moment and you're not thinking and you're having to make a decision based on what you believe rather than what you can taste, touch, feel, and smell, sometimes you make a decision based on sight rather than by faith. So, we wrap up this devotion with this question. What about us? What about our story? Will we make plans? Will we set priorities? Will we choose our direction according to faith or by the sight of all these temporary things we see? Will we pursue an eternal significance, or will we enjoy satisfaction of these temporary things even if we forfeit the eternal things? It's your choice. We can't tell you what to do, but we can encourage you. Choose wisely. Thank you for tuning in. If you have questions or prayer requests, please look us up, First Baptist Honea Path. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you and pray with you. Have a great day.